Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. My phone buzzed so hard it almost hit the floor. I grabbed it on reflex and nearly dropped it again. Screen full of missed calls, messages stacked like a glitch. My first thought was someone died or got arrested. I was wrong. Somehow this was worse. I am Ethan and I am 29 now. Back then I was half awake and way too calm. I tapped the latest notification because it had my mom's name. Her text sat on top of all the chaos. When were you going to tell me you're engaged? For a second my brain just froze on that one word. Engaged. I checked the sender again like my phone might be broken. Then I hit the screenshot she sent under the text. That screenshot is still burned into my head. It was a photo of me with Lily at a bar. She was leaning in, laughing at something off camera. I remember that night as just a group hang with friends. In the picture, she looked tucked against my shoulder like a girlfriend. The crop cut out everyone else and turned it into a couple shot. My name was tagged right above my own face. Underneath sat the caption in big dramatic letters. Can't wait to spend my life with this man. Ring emoji, heart emoji, the whole fake fairy tale package. I felt my stomach tighten like someone had pulled a cord. I stared at her username to make sure it was real. Lily. My best friend's little sister. Not a prank account, not a fan page, just her profile. And more than 100 likes sitting on the post already. I started scrolling through the comments with this weird numb focus. Finally. Told you guys they were perfect together. Put me down for the bachelorette trip. Every line made my chest feel smaller. People tagged each other under it and joked about weddings. Somebody wrote, he's such a solid provider with a wink. Another talked about secure the bag girl with laughing emojis. I saw a coworker from my office saying congrats. That one almost made me drop the phone. You ever feel your life tilt in 1 minute? That was it for me. My notifications kept rolling while I just sat there breathing. I clicked her profile to check if this was a story or a main post. Of course, she pinned it to the top. I hit call before I could think. The phone rang a few times, then went to voicemail. Her recorded voice sounded too cheerful with that fake upbeat tone. I hung up without leaving a message because I was already angry. Angry and also stupidly aware that I might overreact and look guilty. I opened our chat instead and started typing fast. What is this? Take it down now. I deleted the message because it sounded too desperate. Typed again. This is not funny, remove the post. The little typing bubble popped up for a second, then vanished. No answer. Just more notifications on my lock screen stacking like a joke. Dude, is this for real? Bro, congrats. Mark's name finally pushed through the mess at the top. He had sent a single question mark first. Then another message right after. Are you seeing Lily's post? Like I could possibly miss it. I called him right away and paced across my room. He picked up on the second ring, sounding out of breath. Tell me this is some weird prank you planned with her. Silence stretched and I heard him exhale hard. Man, I thought you were serious with her and just quiet about it. That line hit harder than I expected. Serious with her. So even he thought there was something between us. I told him flat I had never dated his sister. I could hear doubt in his voice even before he answered. She said you wanted to keep it low profile for work. He sounded careful now, like he was walking across glass. She told us you were nervous about mixing personal and professional. I stopped pacing because the room felt suddenly smaller. She told who exactly? Our parents, a couple of her friends, people. I did not know. Apparently my non-existent relationship had a whole audience already. I pressed my thumb into my forehead to keep from exploding. Mark, there is no engagement, there is no relationship, nothing. He went quiet again and I could hear a TV in the background. I believe you, he finally muttered, not very convincing. She can be dramatic, you know that. Then he dropped the part that made my throat go dry. Look, Dad already called asking about dates. I sat on the edge of the bed because my knees felt weak. Dates? As an engagement party, wedding, whatever story she sold them. I asked how long this had been going on. He said a few weeks, like it was nothing. So she had been building this script around me for weeks. I was just the idiot who did not notice. I asked him why nobody asked me directly before now. He said they wanted to respect our privacy and wait. I laughed once and it sounded angry enough to scare me. While we talked, my phone vibrated with new messages. I pulled it away from my ear to check the previews. Mom again. Call me right now, I want to hear it from you. Under that, a text from my manager saying, huge news, congrats. I hung up on Mark without even saying goodbye. That was a crappy move and I know it now. In that moment, I only cared about putting out fires. I called my mom before she called my boss or my aunt or someone. She picked up like she had been holding the phone already. Is this true? She asked, no hello, no pause. Her voice had that thin edge she used for real crises. I told her no and I heard her inhale sharply. What do you mean no? Your face is on the post. That was the part none of them could get past. I tried to explain while my thoughts tripped over each other. She cropped a group photo to make it look like a couple shot. That's manipulative, Mom said, now fully awake and furious. You need to clear this before people start planning things. As if they were not already. She offered to comment under the post and blast the story. Just the thought of that made my skin crawl. My mother arguing with Lily in public under an engagement post. I asked her not to do anything yet, at least not online. I promised I would take care of it that day. That promise was pure panic talking. I had no plan, only this heavy pressure in my chest. I hung up and opened the app again with shaky hands. For a second I thought maybe she had deleted it herself. Nope, still there, even more likes. I finally commented under it, short and controlled. This is not true, please remove this. I watched my own words sit there under the pile of hearts. New comments popped up almost instantly. Uh-oh, trouble in paradise. Someone wrote cold feet already with a laughing reaction. Another said sounds like something he would say. People loved the drama more than the truth. My comment sank lower as fresh congratulations kept coming. I felt weirdly exposed, like standing in a crowd without clothes. Then I saw my manager's profile picture in the likes. That made everything feel real in a new way. Office gossip spreads faster than anything online. I pictured HR emails, awkward jokes in meetings, questions about policy. One fake caption and my job suddenly felt less solid. I deleted my own comment because it clearly did nothing. That might sound stupid now, but I panicked hard. I did not want an argument happening in front of my coworkers. I switched to direct messages and typed to Lily again. This affects my job, take the post down right now. This time she answered with a voice note instead of text. Just seeing the gray bar appear made my shoulders tense. I waited a second before pressing play, like it might explode. Her voice came through soft and shaky, the practice kind of shaky. Can you please not humiliate me like this? She said her family already knew about us and were excited. She said deleting it would make her look crazy and unstable. She reminded me that I had never publicly denied anything before. Which was a neat way to blame me for her own fantasy. Then she dropped the line that made my skin crawl. You have a good salary and a stable life, and I already told people we're building something, she said. If you pull out now, you make me look like I chased a man for money. There it was, said in her own sweet little voice. She tried to flip the narrative like she was doing me a favor. I paused the recording halfway through because my pulse spiked. Back then, I still thought this was salvageable with one good talk. Now writing this, I see how deep she was already in it. I replayed the voice note once more and listened carefully. There was no panic in her breathing, only strategy. Like she had rehearsed the wounded tone in a mirror. Another message popped up from her while I stared at the screen. We can talk at brunch with my parents later, they want to celebrate. So she already planned the next step before I even reacted. Brunch celebration, like we were a real couple setting dates. I realized I was already behind in a game I never joined. The first thing I saw at the restaurant was her parents already seated. Mark lifted his hand when he spotted me near the entrance. 3 menus lay unopened on the table, like they were saving a spot. My chest tightened because I knew exactly whose spot that was. I forced a smile and slid into the booth next to Mark. His mom reached across and squeezed my wrist too hard. We are so thrilled about the news. Her fingers dug in like I owed her proof already. I tried to breathe slow and count to 3 before talking. That thing online is not accurate. The words came out stiff and flat like broken plastic. His dad frowned and nudged his glasses higher like he misheard me. Not accurate how? He leaned forward with his elbows on the table. You two are together and thinking long-term, right? Every word landed like a test I had already failed. I felt my phone buzz again in my pocket. That stupid picture was still working overtime while I sat there. I left it though. Ray buzzing because picking it up would look guilty. My mouth felt dry and my brain kept scrambling for clean sentences. Mark cleared his throat and stared at the water glass. He says they are not actually engaged. He did not look at me while he said it, which stung way more. His mom's eyes went wide like someone flipped a switch. What do you mean not engaged? Her voice rose just enough to turn a few heads nearby. She showed us the announcement herself. That last word hit harder than it should have. I opened my mouth to start unwinding the lie. The door behind me swung open with a loud clatter. All 3 of them looked past me at the same time. I did not have to turn to know it was her. Sorry, I'm late. Her voice came bright and shaky from over my shoulder. I smelled the heavy perfume and felt the air shift around the table. She slid into the spot across from me like she had rehearsed it. She aimed this wounded half-smile straight at my face. Traffic was insane and I did not sleep at all. Her eyes shone like she might start crying on cue. Mark's mom reached for napkins before a single tear appeared. I just watched her. She did not look confused or embarrassed or surprised. She looked like someone stepping onto a stage they knew well. That realization made my heartbeat slam louder in my ears. His dad folded his hands and looked between us. Your mother here tells me we are celebrating something important. He spoke slowly, testing each word like it might explode. Lily glanced at me with this quick pleading flick of her gaze. I guess important is one word for it. She laughed under her breath and stared down at the table. Then she let her shoulders shake once like she was holding it together. I did not think we would be having this talk like this. There was a beat where I could have cut in. If I had been bolder, I would have blown the whole act apart. Instead, I hesitated and she lunged into the opening. I still kick myself for that small pause. He got scared last night. She told them that with a deep inhale, staring at her hands. He told me maybe we moved too fast and asked for time. Mark's mother's mouth actually dropped open. That is not what happened. My fingers curled around the edge of the table until they hurt. I kept my tone low because I did not trust my control. Lily lifted her head and finally met my eyes. Maybe I misread it. Her lip trembled in this practiced way that made my skin crawl. You said your job was watching everything and you worried about optics. She rubbed her thumb against her ring finger like something was missing there. Her dad nodded slowly, like some part of her story clicked. I understand work pressure more than anyone here. He gave me this disappointed little half smile. Communication is key though, you cannot spring this on people. I never agreed to any of this. That came out sharper than I planned and Mark flinched slightly. Lily's shoulders jerked and she sucked in a tiny breath. Wow, okay, so I imagined the last few weeks entirely. His mother put a hand on her arm. Sweetheart, let him speak. It sounded gentle on the surface and loaded under it. I felt like the villain before I even started. I am not in a relationship with you. The words felt unreal coming out in front of people who loved her. I did not ask you to post anything or announce anything. My voice shook on that last part, which did not help my case. Lily laughed once, short and broken. You called me every night this month and told me you cared. She carefully avoided looking at me while she spoke. You told me to trust you and take a leap with you. My brain scrambled through recent nights for anything she could twist. Yes, we had talked way more than I should have allowed. That was my mistake and I feel the stupidity even now. But I knew I had never promised what she was selling. You told us you had someone serious. Mark's mom looked straight at me now. You told us he was reliable and planning for the future. The emphasis on reliable felt like a punch to the ribs. Lily sniffed, then slid a folder from her bag. The movement was smooth like she had planned it. She pushed it across the table until it touched my knuckles. My stomach dropped because I already knew it was not good. Inside was a printed apartment listing with numbers underlined. 2 bedrooms, decent rent, move-in date circled in ink. Under that sat a receipt for a non-refundable deposit. Her name and mine were both written in the notes section. I stared so hard my vision blurred around the edges. I do not live here. My voice came out dull because my brain lagged behind. You put my name down without even asking. You told me you wanted us closer to your office. Her tone sharpened for a second, then softened again. You said sharing a place would make more sense financially. She breathed in and let a single tear finally slide down. She turned, and that tear toward her parents like a spotlight. I believed him. I turned down another lease because of him. Her nails tapped once on the receipt between us. Now the landlord is expecting the rest of the deposit by Monday. Mark shifted beside me and cleared his throat again. Did you talk about living together at all? He sounded careful, like he already thought he knew the answer. Every eye at that table pinned me down. We talked about budgeting in general. That sounded weaker out loud than in my head. We never agreed on an apartment or a move-in date. I wanted to disappear through the seat. Why would she put down money if you never discussed it? His dad's jaw clenched and he sat back from the table. It makes no sense at all. That was the point, it made emotional sense to them. Lily pulled out her phone with a quick jerky motion. I sent him the listing and he hearted it. She scrolled with her thumb and handed the screen to her mom. You see, he knew he wanted this. I remembered that exact moment. I had tapped the stupid little heart while half watching television. It felt casual then, barely even a real response. Now it sat there on the screen like a signed contract. Her mother nodded slowly as she studied the messages. He acknowledged it, he showed interest. Those 2 words piled weight onto my back. I felt strangely lightheaded, like the room tilted. I also quit my job for him. Lily dropped that into the quiet like a stone in water. Everyone snapped their focus back to her at once. My heart actually skipped as she lifted her chin. She opened another email on her phone and spun it around. A resignation note to her boss sat there with a date. Thought you were proud of me for taking a chance. Her voice caught on proud like it hurt to use the word. Her dad stared at the email without blinking. You walked away from steady income because of this man. His gaze moved to me with a sharp little jolt. I raised you smarter than that. I never asked you to do that. I could hear the desperation in my own tone now. We did not plan anything together, you decided this alone. She flinched like I had slapped her across the table. You told me not to worry because you had us covered. Her lower lip shook and another tear rolled down. You said money would not be a problem if we were a team. Hearing myself used as a prop like that made my skin crawl. His mother wiped under Lily's eyes with a napkin. You do not talk about teams and future and then vanish. A little edge of anger crept into her usually soft voice. It is not how you treat someone you say you care about. The worst part is I understood their side emotionally. If I stood in their shoes, I would see a guy backing away. I hated that small piece of sympathy while it happened. That tiny understanding chipped at my confidence. Lily took a breath and looked directly at me this time. I can handle losing the place, I will survive that. She paused just long enough for her parents to react. I cannot handle everyone thinking I invented us for money. That last word hung there between us. Money. It echoed everything she had not said out loud yet. Everyone at that table knew who had more of it. I have coworkers who already saw that picture. She played with the edge of the folder like she might tear it. If this blows up in my face, I lose more than a deposit. Her eyes flicked toward me on that last line. I heard the unspoken part loud and clear. If she decided to spin the story at my office, I was done. All she had to do was cry to the right person in HR. Suddenly, every interaction with her could look like harassment. Her dad cleared his throat and straightened his posture. Look, I do not care about online theatrics. He glanced between us with that heavy dad stare. I care that my daughter is not left stranded and humiliated. Mark finally spoke with actual frustration in his voice. Why did neither of you clue me in earlier? He gave me a long look, then turned to her. Now it feels like I walked everyone into an ambush. Lily reached across and grabbed my hand before I could pull away. Her grip trembled but felt strong enough to bruise. I am not trying to trap you. Big lie clear as glass, yet it sounded gentle. I just need you to honor what you promised privately. She squeezed tighter on that last word. The deposit at least, so I do not look insane. Her nails pressed into my skin like punctuation. Everyone focused on the paper between us again. The number at the bottom might as well have been flashing. I could pay it, that was the problem. That fact sat heavy on my tongue. If he covers what he told you he would, we can move on. Her mom's tone softened again, like this was a reasonable compromise. After that, you two can take all the time you want. She smiled like she dealt with difficult children for a living. I wanted to argue that I never promised anything. And Jay. My mind ran through every conversation we had shared. Even remembering the late calls made my stomach twist. There were too many moments she could twist into promises. Mark leaned his shoulder into mine quietly. Man, just fix this one part. His voice dropped low, meant only for me. Then we can untangle the rest later. He meant well. He always thought problems could be patched with one clean gesture. Later never really works like that though. Later is how you end up buried. The server arrived right then with coffee and water. Timing could not have been worse. The presence of an extra person made backing out harder. I could feel Lily's hand still wrapped around mine. I will cover the deposit. The words tasted bitter and metallic in my mouth. I watched Lily's shoulders relax in an almost invisible exhale. Her parents sagged with relief like I had confessed to a crime. That is fair. Her dad nodded once and let out a short breath. Nobody wants drama over paperwork. The irony of that sentence almost made me laugh. Lily dabbed at the corner of her eyes and let my hand go. Thank you, seriously, you will not regret this. She looked at me with this mix of gratitude and triumph. That expression should have warned me more than anything. I can transfer you my half later when things settle. She said it lightly, like we already shared expenses. Or we can set up a shared account like we discussed. That little phrase, like we discussed, twisted my gut. I pulled my hand fully back and tucked it under the table. Just send me the landlord's number and I will pay directly. I wanted as little money touching her as possible. She smiled in a thin, careful line and nodded. The rest of brunch blurred into background noise. Plates arrived and people took half-hearted bites. Polite small talk stumbled around the giant mess on the table. Nobody really cared about food anymore. When the check came, I grabbed it before anyone else moved. My card went down next to the folder with that receipt. 2 separate payments to mark my fresh stupidity. I watched the server walk away with more than my breakfast. On the surface, the crisis looked contained. Her parents relaxed enough to chat about neutral things. Mark even managed a weak joke about wedding planners being out of work. Inside my head, everything kept flashing red. Walking out of that place, I felt like my pockets were full of stones. My phone buzzed again with fresh notifications I did not open. Behind me, Lily laughed at something her mom whispered. That soft laugh followed me all the way to my car. And I knew deep down that paying once meant she could always ask for more. The pounding on my door would not stop. Short hits, no pauses, like whoever was outside owned the place. I dropped my keys on the counter and stalked down the hallway. Relax, I muttered, more to myself than to whoever was knocking. That was before I opened the door and saw the luggage. 2 rolling suitcases. 1 overstuffed duffel on top of them. And Lily, 1 hand on each handle, smiling like this was a rom-com. Perfect timing, you're home. My shoulders tightened so fast it almost hurt. What are you doing here? No hello, no joke, just that. She glanced past me into the apartment like she was checking a hotel room. Travel was a nightmare, can we talk inside? She nudged 1 suitcase over the threshold with her foot. I blocked the doorway with my body. Answer first. She gave this wounded laugh and shifted the duffel higher. Mark said I could crash with you till things settle. That one line made my head buzz. I pulled my phone out on instinct. There were texts from Mark I had not seen yet. Yo, Lily might swing by, she needs a place short term. 1 more under it. Hope that's cool, you're a lifesaver. I stared at the messages, then at her. You read those? She tilted her head, confusion plastered on her face. He told me you were fine with it already. The way she said it left me the bad guy if I refused. She shifted the suitcase again and winced. My lease ended, the new place fell through, and I've got nowhere tonight. Her voice shook on nowhere, just enough to sound sincere. Down the hall, a door opened and a neighbor peeked out. I could feel eyes on my back, waiting to see the scene. I stepped aside a few inches. Just enough space for her and the luggage to slip past. She rolled everything in without waiting for more permission. Thank you, seriously, you're saving me right now. The neighbor's door clicked shut before I could change my mind. She parked the suitcases right in the middle of the living room. Then she straightened up, stretched her neck, and looked around. Not with curiosity, with evaluation. Cozy place, definitely feels like you. Somehow that comment annoyed me more than anything. I never agreed to you staying here. I kept my tone level, but my jaw was clenched. You texted my brother, you Mig. T, come over, that's it. She opened the duffel and started pulling out folded clothes. This is so awkward, can we not fight in the doorway? Watching her unpack before we even finished arguing fried my nerves. Stop unloading stuff. I picked up a t-shirt off the arm of the couch. You can't just move in because you lost an apartment. She snatched the shirt back and hugged it to her chest. I did not lose an apartment. Her voice sharpened and she set the shirt down carefully. I turned one down because of us. That one word again dropped like a hook. My pulse ticked higher. There is no us to build housing around. I dragged a hand over my face and tried to breathe. You know exactly how messy everything already is. She sighed and flopped onto the couch, arms spread out. Which is why we need to coordinate, not panic. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded page. Not receipts this time. Printed columns, highlighted numbers, little notes in the margins. She smoothed it on the coffee table like she was presenting a plan. I put together a rough monthly breakdown. I did not sit. Standing felt safer, like I might still end this. She tapped the top of the sheet with one finger. Rent, utilities, food, car, fun. The way she said fun made my teeth clench. My name was written next to almost every large number. Hers was next to things like groceries and streaming. You make more so you cover more, she explained, almost cheerful. It's still fair if we look at percentages, not raw dollars. She slid a pen toward me like she expected my signature. I am not signing anything. The air in my lungs felt heavy, like I was breathing through cotton. You are not my partner, you are my friend's sibling. Her jaw worked once before she forced another smile. I know labels get messy, money does not have to. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Think about optics for a second. There it was again, her favorite word when she wanted leverage. If people think we exploded, that hurts both of us. She lifted her eyes, watching every flicker in my expression. Your parents already think we hit a rough patch. She fiddled with the corner of the paper, voice dropping lower. They do not know you're ready to throw me out onto the street. That picture she painted made my stomach feel like concrete. She knew exactly where to push. I walked to the window and stared out without seeing anything. Short term, I finally managed. Short term as in a few days, not a new life chapter. I turned back to her so she could not twist the wording later. 1 week, you look for another place starting tomorrow. Her eyes brightened fast, almost too fast. Thank you, that's all I needed, just a buffer. She stood and wrapped her arms around me before I could dodge. It was quick but very familiar, and I hated how practiced it felt. I kept my hands at my sides until she let go. Where should I put my stuff? No room for debate in that question. I pointed to the small storage space near the hallway. Leave most of it there, you get the couch. I folded my arms, bracing for pushback. She pulled a face like I had suggested the sidewalk. The couch will destroy my back in 3 days. Her hand drifted toward the door of my office. Your work chair looks comfortable though, and that room has space. My chest tightened again. That room is off limits. I reached past her and shut the door completely. You are not turning my workspace into your closet. She blinked, taken aback for half a second. Then the charm slid back on like a mask. Fine, living room camp it is. She dragged one suitcase toward the storage nook, wheels rattling. I can roll up my mattress topper and sleep on that. She looked over her shoulder with this brave little smile. I will make it work, I always do. I watched her shove things into the small space. Shoes, bags, a makeup case, a laptop sleeve. little pieces of her life invading every corner. Remember 1 week, I repeated, more for myself than for her. She hummed like she agreed, but her eyes said something else. My phone buzzed on the counter again. This time I checked. A fresh text from Mark. She with you yet? I owe you, big man. Guilt settled somewhere between my ribs and stayed there. I typed back, staring at the blinking cursor. She's here for a few days, we'll figure the rest out. The second I hit send, I regretted how vague that sounded. He replied with a row of praying hands and a heart. Somewhere behind me, Lily let out a tiny satisfied noise. You told him? She asked, voice light. I could hear her unrolling something down the hall. He was worried I would end up in some random motel. I pictured him pacing, convinced he had done the right thing. That thought made my throat feel tight. I walked into the living room and saw her spreading a blanket. She had already stacked her throw pillows against the armrest. A sweatshirt of mine lay across the back like she owned it. I recognized it immediately, and my jaw clenched again. When did you grab that? She shrugged, pulling her hair into a loose knot. Last time we hung out here, you said I could borrow it. Maybe I had casually without thinking. That was the pattern with her. Small favors that turned into building blocks. The room felt smaller with her settled in it. She moved like someone who knew she would stay. Remote on the table, charger plugged in, glass half full already. She sank onto her makeshift bed and patted the space near her feet. Come sit, we should align on things. I have work early. I stayed standing near the doorway. We can align in 10 minutes, then I'm done for tonight. I forced my voice steady on that last line. She nodded, then reached into her bag again. This time she produced a tablet and unlocked it. Rows of numbers filled the screen, color-coded. Okay, so groceries. If I handle shopping, you handle delivery fees. I felt tired just hearing the breakdown. She talked like this was already locked in. She flicked to another tab. Laundry, your building has machines. I can do both of ours together. She tapped another row. Entertainment, date nights, streaming, nights out with your friends. She glanced up at me with a sly smile on that one. We are not doing date nights. My patience snapped for a second and the words came out sharp. You are sleeping on my couch and looking for housing, that's it. She held my stare for a long beat. Then she laughed softly like I had told a harmless joke. People already see us as a couple. She spread her hands, palms up. Your neighbors, my parents, your coworkers. Her shoulders lifted in a tiny shrug. I am just trying to match reality to perception. That perception is your fault. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. You crafted it without asking me once. She looked away at that, expression tightening for real. For a second I thought she might drop the act. Instead she sighed and closed the tablet. I messed up with the post, I get it. Her voice softened, almost believable. I am just trying not to drown completely here. She looked so small on that couch it messed with my resolve. I hate admitting this, but guilt works on me. Even when I know it is being weaponized. I told myself letting her stay would calm everything. Keep her from making more noise online or at work. It sounds cowardly now because it was. You start searching tomorrow morning. I jabbed a finger toward her tablet. Applications, calls, whatever it takes, you show me progress. She nodded quickly, maybe too quickly. Absolutely, I already have tabs open. She yawned and pulled my sweatshirt over her t-shirt. The sight of her in my clothes made my stomach twist. Not in a romantic way, in a trapped way. She curled up on the couch and reached for the remote. I'll be quiet, promise, you won't even know I'm here. I went to my room and shut the door with more force than necessary. The lock clicked under my fingers and I stood there a moment. On the other side of the wall, I heard the low murmur of a show. Every few minutes, a little burst of her laughter floated through. It made the space between us feel paper thin. I lay down but sleep did not come. My mind replayed the brunch, the deposit, now this. Each choice stacking on top of the last like bad Jenga moves. I kept thinking I can still reverse this tomorrow. That lie was the only thing that let me close my eyes. Sometime after midnight, her voice drifted down the hallway. Soft on the phone but clear enough in the quiet. Yeah, I'm with him now, it's basically official. My chest went cold as I stared at the ceiling. She paused, then laughed softly. Of course he can afford it. Every word hit harder than the knocking at the door earlier. I could have stood up right then and ended it. Walked out, told her to pack, called her a ride. Instead, I lay there frozen, listening to her murmur about our place. By morning, in her mind, I was already the guy she lived with. The promotion email hit my inbox before lunch and my heart went weird. By the time I finished reading it, the whole floor knew. People were clapping, slapping my back, saying my new title out loud. All I could think was, Lily is going to see every single word. And the salary number glowed in my head like a target. My manager pulled me into a quick huddle near his office. "Big step, man, this puts you on a different track." He squeezed my shoulder and grinned at the crowd hovering nearby. "Now go celebrate, your fiancé already did half the work for us." The word fiancé hit me so hard I almost laughed just to stay upright. "Not my fiancé," I answered too fast and too sharp. A couple coworkers glanced at each other like they caught something juicy. My manager lifted both hands, backing off the comment with a smile. "Hey, what? Ver you call her, she makes you look stable." He walked away before I could untangle that disaster. I stood there while people drifted over with paper cups. Someone from another team raised their drink toward me. "Let me know when the housewarming happens, promotion guy." Another chimed in, "And the wedding, we need cake." They laughed and I pretended it was all harmless noise. In the break room, one of the senior people cornered me. "Congratulations, this level looks good on a married man." He winked like we shared some kind of secret. "HR loves a settled image, keep that going and you're golden." I smiled with my mouth and felt my jaw lock. On the inside, I was counting every slip that traced back to her. Every time she used my name with that fake ring story. This was exactly what I worried about when she made that post. Work buying into her script, not mine. Once that happens, your version starts to sound like damage control. On my way out, my phone buzzed non-stop again. Group chats, individual texts, random emojis, all screaming congrats. I stepped into the elevator and checked the last notification. Mark had posted a photo of us from college with a long caption. He tagged me and then, of course, tagged Lily. "Proud of my boy leveling up," the caption said. "Couldn't have done it without his rock." Under her name was a string of gold star emojis. She commented within minutes, "So proud of our win." There it was, written in public, tying her to my paycheck. By the time I pulled into my parking spot that night, I was drained. The promotion should have felt like a clean victory. Instead, it felt like a door she had been waiting to pry open. I sat in the car for a full minute before heading upstairs. I already knew there would be a scene. I unlocked my front door and heard quick movement inside. Then the lights snapped on and a loud surprise burst from the couch. Lily jumped up, holding a bottle by the neck like a trophy. Gold ribbons hung off it, probably slapped on last minute. She bounced on her toes, studying my face for the right reaction. "I got the best news alert today," she sang out. She rushed over and wrapped her arms around my neck. "You didn't even tell me you went for that position." Her perfume hit me first, then the shape of her smile against my shoulder. I felt myself go stiff, and she did not miss that. She stepped back and searched my eyes. "Come on, this is huge, don't do the humble thing." She popped the bottle with a loud crack that made me flinch. Fizz sprayed across the coffee table, and she laughed like it was cute. "First drink of our upgraded life." "I worked for this, not you," slipped out before I softened it. Her mouth tightened for a split second, then smoothed over. "I stood next to you while you climbed, that counts." She poured 2 full glasses and handed one to me. "You're not getting out of a toast." I held the glass but did not drink yet. What exactly are we celebrating here? I knew, but I wanted her to say it. She clinked her glass against mine with a bright little tap. "Higher salary, better odds on the house, stronger team." The word team made my fingers stiff around the stem. I took a small sip to buy time. "How do you know anything about my odds on a house?" She walked to the couch and picked up a folder from the cushion. "That's what I wanted to show you." She laid the folder in the center of the table and flipped it open. Inside were printed pages, clipped neatly, organized too well. Bank logos, account templates, something that looked like insurance paperwork. I recognized some forms from my employee portal. My stomach gave a slow, heavy roll. "What is this?" I asked, even though I already guessed. She moved around the table, standing close enough that our arms brushed. Options, she answered, voice soft but steady. Ways to leverage what you just earned instead of wasting it. Her fingertips rested on the top page like it was a sales display. She pointed to one document with bold letters at the top. Joint checking with premium benefits, low fees, shared access. Our names were already typed in the name field side by side. Under mine, the income field was filled in accurately. Under hers, there was a number that did not match reality. You lied about your income here. I tapped the figure with one knuckle, heat rising in my neck. She shrugged, unbothered. They only care about the combined number and payment history. Her tone stayed smooth, like this was all normal. You forged my information too, I added, voice low. She rolled her eyes in a small, exaggerated circle. I used what you told me and what's online, nothing crazy. She nudged my arm. You can adjust it when you sign, the structure is what matters. I'm not signing anything that ties our money together. That came out sharper than I aimed for. She pulled her hand back and looked up at me. You're the one talking about buoy. And G property, she reminded me. A bank trusts a couple more than a random single guy. I heard my manager's words echoing in my head from earlier. HR loves a settled image. Stable, reliable, partnered. You cannot imagine how fast her logic tries to hook into that. Even when you know it reeks. She slid another sheet forward with a little flick. This one had my company's logo at the top. Domestic partner declaration, she said, almost whispering. Medical coverage, better rates, more security for both of us. Her thumb brushed the signature line that waited blank. Where did you get this? I knew the form existed, but I had never downloaded it. I did some research on your benefits portal, she answered. Your laptop was open one night and I checked the site. The casual way she admitted that made my skin tighten. You went through my work account. I stepped back, the glass in my hand suddenly heavy. She lifted her chin and met my glare. I didn't read confidential files, I just looked at perks. She paused, then added, you leave a lot visible for someone in your role. That last sentence was not an accident. It sat there between us like a loaded gun on the table. Maybe she did not have evidence now, but she hinted about potential. I knew how it would look if she walked into HR upset and crying. High-level power imbalance, girl on the couch. I realized in that moment she had more leverage than I wanted to admit. Not proof of wrongdoing, but a story that could hurt me anyway. The idea of explaining our living arrangement to my boss made my chest burn. Nothing about this is okay, I told her, but my voice had less bite. She sensed that crack in my resistance immediately. She softened her expression and reached for my hand. I know you feel trapped, I do too in my own way. Her fingers wrapped around mine, warm and controlled. I walked away from my old setup because I trusted you. She squeezed once hard, let me lock in a future that matches that risk. You walked away before any real commitment existed, I answered. Her eyes shone with fresh tears, quick, perfectly timed. So I was stupid for believing we were heading somewhere. Her lip trembled as she looked away. Congratulations, you sound like every guy who blames the girl for caring. I am not proud of this part. I felt myself backpedal inside my own head. It is hard to hold the line when someone is crying because of you. Even when you know they built the whole situation brick by brick. Guilt is a cheap tool, but it works. She sniffed and brushed her knuckles under one eye. If you do not want to appear linked to me publicly, fine. Her voice steadied again on publicly. Keep your social media single, keep your coworkers guessing. She tapped the papers again, just do the boring, smart stuff with me. The boring, smart stuff can still ruin my life, I muttered. She blinked, leaning in to catch the words. Explain that, she requested quietly. I gestured toward the partner form. If we separate, unwinding this mess will be a nightmare. We are already tangled, she replied almost gently. I sleep at your place, my things are here, your family knows me. Each point landed like a quiet checklist. You can pretend we are not connected, but everyone around us disagrees. She waited, letting that sink in. I looked at the coffee table. My keys, her hairband, her tablet charger. Evidence of daily life mixed together without clear lines. She had a point there and she knew it. That is the problem with tangled boundaries. They look like commitment from the outside. She slid a pen across the table and pointed to the bank form. Just start with this, she coaxed. Joint account for shared costs, rent, utilities, groceries, nothing dramatic. She smiled, but there was strain around her eyes. If anything happens, we close it and move on. I already cover most shared costs now, I blurted. She didn't flinch. This just keeps track and gives you more control, she countered. You see every transaction, you monitor everything, it even protects you from me. That last line was delivered with a crooked grin, like a joke. I stared at the signature line and imagined my name there. Paychecks flowing in, automatic drafts going to things she picked. Her with a card linked to the same pool. My chest tightened, but not with panic this time, with a slow dread. I had a sense that once I wrote my name, she would never let go. I need time, I finally told her. She exhaled and dropped her shoulders like she had expected that. How long, she asked, eyes narrowing slightly. A few days, I replied, not sure I could hold that boundary. She nodded, but I could tell she had already set her own schedule. She stacked the forms back into the folder with careful hands. I'll leave this here so you can read everything, she said. She placed it right at the edge of the table where I sit for meals. That way you. Ray, not signing blind, I want you comfortable. The sweetness in her voice scraped across my nerves. Do not take photos of any of that to send around, I warned. She stepped backward, hand over her heart. I am not an idiot, I know what sensitive means. Then she added, but I may have already mentioned your promotion to a few people. My stomach lurched because I knew exactly which few people she meant. Who, I asked, sharper than before. She walked toward the kitchen, rinsing her glass as if nothing was wrong. Just my parents, a couple friends, maybe someone from your office who messaged me. She spoke over the running water. They are happy for us, that's all. Someone from my office contacted you directly. That detail hit like a slap. She dried her hands and leaned against the counter. They replied to my story, the one where I toasted you. Her eyes locked on mine. You looked good with that caption, by the way. I realized then that my private win had already been folded into her narrative. In their heads, she was the supportive partner behind the successful man. If I pushed her away now, I would become the ungrateful jerk in their story. That image matters more than people admit when jobs and loans get involved. She was counting on that social pressure to keep me in line. She crossed the room and stopped right in front of me. We can make this simple, she murmured. Sign the account papers, think about the partner form, and let me handle the boring admin. Her hand slid up my arm, nails grazing lightly. You focus on being brilliant at work and buying us a place. I stepped out of her reach, heart thudding hard. I am not promising you a place, I am not promising you anything past this week. Her expression froze, then reset into something calmer. Careful, she said softly, when you talk like that you sound unstable. That word unstable hung in the air like a threat she had not voiced fully yet. She finally grabbed her drink and walked back to the couch. Think it over tonight, I know you will do the rational thing. She reached for the remote and sank into her spot. Her attention moved to the screen, but I knew the conversation was not over. Not with that folder sitting on my table like a loaded trap. Later, alone in my room, I opened the folder again. I read every line, every clause, every penalty for closing the account early. The partner form haunted me more than the financial stuff. One signature and she could stand in front of HR as my official person. I closed the folder, but the sense of being boxed in stayed wide open. The receptionist called my name and my heart started slamming. I had the folder under my arm, pen already in my fingers. This was supposed to be the clean win after months of chaos. I told myself once I signed, I could finally slam the door on her. I walked toward the closing room like I actually believed that. The title agent stood up and reached across the table. We'll be done fast if everything matches the file. My lender's rep sat at the end, glancing between documents. There was one empty chair beside me that nobody mentioned. I noticed it and pushed the thought away too quickly. They slid a stack of pages over and pointed to where to sign. Initial here, and full signature on this page. My hand hovered over the first line, pen tip almost touching paper. I could taste that mix of relief and fear you get before big steps. Then the outer door opened, and a high voice cut through everything. Sorry, traffic was insane. Did I miss anything important? Every person in the room looked up at the same time. Lily walked in like she owned air and time. She had a small ring on her finger that I had never seen. She lifted that hand just enough to flash it toward the table. My mouth went dry so fast I actually swallowed twice. She gave the agent a bright, nervous smile. Hi, I'm the fiancé he forgot to put on the appointment. She walked around the table and rested her palm on my shoulder. The contact made my whole body go rigid. The title agent's eyes moved from her face to mine. Fiancé, she repeated, voice careful now. My lender's rep straightened and folded his hands. I wasn't aware there was a second buyer, he added slowly. The air in the room changed in one instant. We just had a little hiccup with timing. Lily pulled out a chair and sat next to me like she belonged there. He got overwhelmed with work stuff and forgot to update the file. She tilted her head toward me, all soft concern. I told him I'd help clean it up. I placed the pen on the table and moved my hand away. This transaction is in my name only. My voice came out tight but clear. There is no co-borrower, no co-owner, nothing like that. I could feel her stare burning into the side of my face. She let out a breathy little laugh. He's doing that thing again where he pretends we are not together. Her fingers are led lightly around my forearm. We've been living as partners for months, his brother knows that. That last part was aimed hard at me. The lender's rep flipped through the file quickly. Your paperwork lists you as single, he observed, watching me closely. If there is a domestic partner involved, that can matter. He glanced at Lily's hand, then at the ring again. I need clarity before we finalize any signatures. That ring is new, I blurted, pointing straight at it. She bought it for this performance, it means nothing. Her face crumpled like I had kicked a puppy. Wow, she breathed, leaning back, eyes shining. I walked away from everything for you, and now I'm a performer. The title agent raised a hand, trying to calm the collision. Let's pause a moment, she suggested, tone firm. She looked straight at me. Do you want to step into a private room to sort this out? My chest thudded so hard I could hear the pulse in my ears. I nodded because doing this in front of them was worse. They moved us into a smaller conference space down the hall. The door closed with a soft click that felt very loud. For a second, none of us spoke. Then Lily got there first, of course. He is freaking out because he hates conflict, she started. Her hands fluttered once, then settled on the edge of the table. He told me we'd handle my part after the promotion cleared. She turned those wet eyes on the agent and the rep. I trusted him, and now I'm terrified he will erase me. I never agreed to add you to this house, I cut in. The words trembled, but the content held steady. I paid the deposit on that apartment to shut down one scene. I looked directly at the lender. This home loan is mine alone, income, credit, risk, everything. Lily twisted toward me, shoulders shaking. Then why am I sleeping on your couch? Why did I quit my lease? She jabbed a finger toward her chest. Why did I tell my boss I had a stable partner in future housing? Each question landed heavy, like punches she knew the room would feel. The agent glanced between us with narrowed eyes. This is starting to sound like more than a misunderstanding. She laced her fingers together on the table. From a legal standpoint, if you are engaged or cohabiting, it could intersect with underwriting. She did not say fraud, but it lurked in the air. The lender focused on me. Is she on any of your financial documents at work? Any shared accounts, benefit elections, that kind of thing? This was exactly the kind of attention I had wanted to avoid. I could feel sweat prickling along my back. There is no joint account, I answered, slow and precise. There is no domestic partner form on file anywhere. I forced myself to look straight at him. She has pushed for those things, I've refused every time. My voice cracked slightly on refused, but I kept going. Lily laughed once, short and sharp. He left the forms on the table for weeks and called it thinking. She tapped the table with her knuckles. He told me once the house was secure, he'd loop me in. The way she repeated my own phrases made my stomach knot. Then she shifted gears. If you close without my name, I lose every security net I built with him. Her tone dropped low and intense. If that happens, I will have to be honest with his employer about everything. She let that sentence hang, very deliberate. The lender looked uncomfortable now. Honest about what exactly? He asked, trying to measure risk. She folded her arms tightly and looked down. About how someone in a position of influence used me off the record. She did not need details, the implication was dirty enough. I felt something snap inside my chest. Not panic this time, just a hard, clean anger. You are not a victim of my job, I told her. You are a grown adult who built a story and climbed into it. I leaned in, do not raise my career as collateral again. She stared at me, eyes filling, but the tears did not fall yet. You let me live in your space and talk about a future. Her voice shook now, for real, less controlled. You let my parents believe you were family. She pointed at the door. Now in front of strangers you call me a liar. I am calling this stunt a lie, I answered. I gestured toward the manila envelope under her arm. Walking into a legal appointment and pretending you were invited. I turned to the agent. I did not share this address or time with her. Lily's head snapped back toward me. You think I cannot read your mail on the counter? There it was, another admission tossed like it meant nothing. You left the closing notice in plain sight all week. Her mouth twisted. You just assumed I would stay out of it. She was not wrong about that part, and it made me sick. I had underestimated how far she would go. I kept thinking there was a line she would not cross. Standing in that conference room, I finally understood there was. Not when money and status were on the table. The title agent rested her chin on her hand for a second. This is close to derailing the transaction completely, she warned. If there's a dispute about contribution or ownership, it can become litigation. She looked tired now, not dramatic, just done. I need one of you to back off this claim. I will not sign away my stake, Lily answered immediately. Her eyes flashed, no wobble now. I moved, I left my job, I put deposits down. She tapped her ring lightly against the tabletop. I am not walking away empty while he gets a whole house. The lender watched her with a guarded expression. Did you pay any portion of this down payment? He asked. She hesitated just a fraction, then straightened. I covered earlier housing costs so he could save, she replied. Not a direct answer, but enough for someone who wanted to believe. I cut in before anyone could nod along. That is not documented anywhere, that is her interpretation. I spread my hands wide, palms up. Every transfer, every check, every wire into this purchase is mine alone. My throat burned, but the words felt solid. The agent exhaled slowly, then turned to Lily. Whatever emotional investment you have, it is not reflected here. Her tone shifted into work mode, smooth and firm. The bank only cares about names on the note and title. She paused. Right now that name is his, not yours. Lily's jaw clenched, but she pivoted again. Then add my name to the title only. She spoke quickly, chasing the new angle. I don't need to be on the loan, just recognition of my place. Her gaze snapped to me. That would be fair after everything. That would be insane, I shot back. I am not giving half a house to someone who can threaten my job. I did not care how harsh that sounded anymore. If you want fairness, you do not walk in here swinging HR like a weapon. Her face went red under the makeup. The lender looked at his watch, patience draining. I am close to postponing this, he muttered. If we leave with unresolved claims, underwriters will demand explanations. That meant weeks of delays, maybe a full denial. My future place hung on a thread she held willingly. I took a slow breath, then another. You can note in your file that there is no shared interest, I said. If anyone asks later, I will provide all messages and recordings. I locked eyes with Lily, including the ones where you talk about securing the bag. Her eyes widened a fraction at that reminder. She knew exactly which late-night call I meant. I was joking, she protested quickly, voice a little higher. The agent's eyebrows climbed. Joking about what? She asked, curious now. Lily swallowed and stayed quiet. That alone told a story. I did not push it further, not yet. Instead, I looked at the lender. If she contacts my employer with false claims, I will involve counsel. I did not normally talk like that, but I meant every word. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. I can only go by what is in writing, he decided. Right now I have one borrower, one down payment, one purchase contract. He turned to the agent. From our side, we can proceed as planned. It was the first sign of daylight I had felt all morning. The agent looked at Lily, giving her one last chance. If you believe you have a legal stake, you can pursue that separately. Her tone was neutral now, almost clinical. But you will not be added to this title today. She closed the folder like the matter was settled. For a second I thought Lily might explode. Her hands shook and her jaw worked like she was grinding her teeth. Then she smiled sharp and almost calm. Congratulations on the house, she said to me. Let's hope your company understands the full story if I ever need to share. That sentence chilled me more than yelling would have. It wasn't a meltdown, it was a promise. She pushed her chair back and stood slowly. I won't ruin your big moment inside this building, she added. I still have some loyalty, even if you don't. She walked out without looking back, heels hitting the floor in steady beats. The door closed behind her and the room went very quiet. The agent slid the original signature page back in front of me. Do you still want to move forward today? She asked softly. My hand trembled as I reached for the pen again. Looking back, that pause was my final out. I could have postponed, regrouped, told Mark everything first. Instead, I forced my name onto the line with tight strokes. The agent smiled and flipped to the next tab. I felt like I was signing both for a house and for war. We finished the stack with clipped directions and quick nods. The lender packed his briefcase, relief barely hidden. Congratulations, he told me at the doorway. This should fund in a day or two if nothing else surfaces. Those last 5 words rang loud in my head. When I stepped out into the hallway, she was waiting. Back against the wall, arms folded, phone in hand. Her eyes tracked me from the conference room to the exit. So you chose the building over me, she said quietly. Good, now you own something I can actually take from you. I walked past her without answering, palms still damp. Outside, the air felt heavier than when I walked in. I had the house technically, but she had just shown me exactly how far she was willing to go. And I knew whatever came next would make this look like the warm-up. I hit print so many times the machine groaned. Screenshots, voice transcripts, bank drafts, everything I had hoarded. Pages spilled out in uneven stacks that smelled like hot plastic. I lined them across my table like I was preparing evidence. For once, I wanted the crazy on paper, not just in my head. My phone vibrated again, her name lighting the screen. I let it ring until it stopped, then opened Mark's contact. My thumb hovered for a second over the call icon. If I did this, there was no way back to normal. I pressed it anyway and listened to the dial tone punch my ear. He picked up with that familiar, half-distracted greeting. What's up, man? I'm in the middle of something. My mouth felt dry, but the words pushed out. I need you at my place tonight, and I need your parents too. Silence landed so hard I thought the call dropped. You sound serious, he finally muttered, voice lower. Is this about the closing? Did something go wrong? I looked at the pile of papers on the table. Something is wrong, but not with the bank, I said. Bring Lily, and let me talk first. He exhaled, sharp and uneasy. You want all of us there with her in the room? Yeah, I answered, gripping the phone so tight my hand ached. If I do this one-on-one, she flips the script again. He went quiet long enough that my stomach started twisting. Fine, he agreed, short and clipped. We'll come after dinner, don't blow up before we get there. The call ended, and I just stared at my reflection in the black screen. I knew he still half believed her version of events. That doubt was about to get ripped open in front of everyone. I spent the next hour building a brutal timeline. Printout of the engagement, post at the top of the pile. Under it, the brunch receipt with that apartment deposit. Then the fake budget, the joint account draft, the partner form. Last, the messages where she threatened to talk to my job. I forced myself to add my own weak replies too. The hedging, the half yes, the cowardly we'll see. If I left those out, it would just look like a hit piece. I wanted them to see that I had let this grow by folding. Owning that part hurt, but I knew I had to. When the doorbell finally rang, my heart jumped. I stacked the pages into one ugly packet and walked over. Through the peephole, I saw all 4 of them in the hallway. Her parents in front, Mark behind, Lily slightly turned away. My pulse hammered like it wanted to bail out of my chest. I opened the door and stepped aside without smiling. Her mom moved in first, clutching her bag a little too tight. Her dad gave me a polite nod that felt 10 degrees colder. Mark avoided my eyes and headed straight for the living room. Lily drifted in last and did not look at me at all. "Thanks for coming," I started, voice rough. Her dad raised a hand, already bracing for drama. "If this is another round of you denying her place, I'm not staying long." "That's exactly what this is," I answered, surprising myself. "Only this time I brought receipts." I motioned toward the table and they all followed. The packet sat in the center like a bomb. I could feel Lily's stare hard on the side of my face. She had not seen the spread yet, but she knew. Manipulators always feel when the air turns against them. "What is all this?" her mom asked, brows knitting. "Messages, screenshots, contracts," I listed, keeping my tone level. "Everything that turned my life into a circus the last few months." I met her gaze head on. "And everything your daughter carefully left out." Lily let out a strained laugh, almost a scoff. "You're really printing private conversations now," she snapped. She moved closer to the table, eyes scanning the first page. "It's one thing to be scared, it's another to humiliate me." Her hand hovered over the stack like she might swipe it. I slid my hand down and trapped the top sheet with my palm. "Nobody touches anything until I walk through it," I said. Her dad watched that little clash and cleared his throat. "You have 5 minutes to show me something real," he warned. I nodded because I knew I had more than that. I lifted the first page and faced it toward them. Her post, the fake engagement, the comments, all there. "That's where this started publicly," I said, tapping the caption. She cropped a group shot and announced a life that didn't exist. Her mom opened her mouth, then closed. Edit again, staring. Lily crossed her arms, chin raised. "I already told you that was impulsive," she tossed out. It got more reaction than I expected. I couldn't walk it back. Her shoulders rolled in a little shrug. "I thought he'd catch up with the story eventually." "Keep listening," I told them, flipping to the next page. The deposit receipt sat there with both our names. "She told you I promised this place," I reminded them. "Here is the part she skipped." I laid down the chat log where she sent the listing and I just tapped a heart. Her dad leaned closer, lips pressed tight. "You responded with one little symbol," he murmured. "That's not exactly a signed agreement." His wife shot him a look, but he didn't look away from the paper. I saw the first crack run through their certainty. "Then there's the job she quit," I continued. I slid forward the voice transcript from the note she sent me after. I had spent an hour turning that audio into text. Lines where she said, "I already told people you support us," in plain words. Lines where she pushed me to pay or look like a user. Her mom blinked, reading that phrase twice. "You said he asked you to leave," she whispered to Lily. "That's what you told us at brunch." Lily's jaw clenched and her cheeks flushed. "I said he encouraged me to take a risk," she shot back. I did not let her derail it. Next page, the budget where my name sat beside every major bill. Next page, the joint account form with her fake income. Next page, the partner paperwork from my company portal. Every sheet another step she had tried to hide under love. Her dad tapped one line on the bank form with a stiff finger. "This is not your actual earnings," he pointed out. "You inflated this to match his range." His voice had shifted, darker, less protective. She opened her mouth, closed it, then opted for deflection. "Everyone fixes numbers a little on applications," she muttered. Her eyes slid toward me. He knew I was doing it, he just didn't want to type it himself. Mark finally snapped his focus up at that. "Did you?" he asked, staring straight at me. "No," I answered without hesitation. She grabbed information while my laptop was open and pulled forms. I pushed forward the message thread where I called that out. The one where she joked about using my perks while she could. The one where I told her flat not to touch my work account again. Mark scanned the lines, lips moving, making sure. "I never saw these," he said quietly, more to himself. He looked genuinely rattled, which hit something deep in me. I realized in that moment how carefully she had curated what they heard. She fed them the romantic parts and buried the rest. "Now the fun part," I said, my voice darker than I liked. I opened my phone and dropped it in the middle of the table. "I'm going to play 3 clips on speaker." Lily reached across fast, panic flashing. If you recorded me without telling me, that's disgusting. I recorded my own life when I started feeling unsafe, I replied. And we live in a one-party consent state, I checked. Her parents both flinched at the word unsafe. I hit play on the first clip before anyone could argue more. Her voice filled the room, bright and a little smug. Yeah, I'm with him now, it's basically official, past Lily chirped. Of course he can afford it. The audio ended with her quick laugh, the one she used with friends. Her mom pressed her fingers into her temple. That does not sound like a woman scared of losing shelter. That was the first night she brought luggage, I added. She told me she had nowhere else to go. I watched her parents process the difference between that tone and now. Then I tapped the second clip and stepped back. This one hurt me to hear again. In that recording, she talked about locking in the bag before he changes his mind. About playing the soft angle for his manager if needed. About leaving the domestic partner stuff around until he caves. Each phrase dropped into my living room like a brick. Mark's face went pale by the end of it. He dragged his gaze to his sister. You talked about my best friend like a paycheck, he said. No yelling, just flat disbelief. You told us he chased you, that he begged you to move in. His hands curled into fists against his knees. I was venting, she shot back, eyes wide. People say things when they're stressed, you do it too. Her stare darted to her parents, hunting for backup. I was joking, you know my sense of humor. Her laugh sounded thin and out of place. You were not joking in that third one, I said. My thumb hovered over the final file for half a second. Then I hit play and let it run. This was from the hallway after the closing. The one that still scraped at my nerves when I tried to sleep. So you chose the building over me, her recorded voice said. Good, now you own something I can actually take from you. The RDS hung cold in my living room. Nobody spoke when the audio cut out. You could have heard a pin drop if something had fallen. Her dad stood up slowly, face tight and controlled. Did you threaten to sabotage his job or his mortgage? He asked. No soft tone now, no protective cushion. Lily opened her mouth, froze, then glared at me instead. He pulled that out of context, she insisted, shoulders rigid. What context makes that sentence acceptable? He pressed. He took one step closer, eyes locked on hers. Because if a man said that to you, I would call it abuse. The word landed hard and she flinched for real. I felt something loosen in my chest that had been stuck for weeks. Her mom finally spoke, voice shaky. You told me he was using you for company and then tossing you aside. She turned the tablet of printouts around again. This looks like you were mapping out his assets, not his feelings. Her hands trembled as she placed it back down. Lily's eyes flooded now, but the tears felt different. Less practice, more cornered. You have no idea how hard it is starting over, she fired back. How scary it is depending on rent and tips and hoping someone picks you. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, angry at the wetness. I believed him when he said he would take care of things, she went on. I built my choices around that, I cut off other options. She gestured wildly at the pages. So yeah, I pushed, I tried to protect myself, I grabbed what I could. She sniffed hard, you would have done the same if someone dangled that security. I am not going to lie, that speech got to me a little. I still remember what it felt like to be broke and desperate. I did not say that out loud though, not this time. Because none of that explained the threats or the lies. Need does not excuse building a cage around another person. So now what? Mark asked, voice raw. He looked from her to me and back again. You came at his house, his career, our family's trust. He swallowed hard. Where does this go from here? He honestly sounded like he expected me to have a roadmap. My hands were steady when I answered. First, she's not staying in my apartment another night. I kept my eyes on Mark, not on her. I want her stuff gone today, I don't care where she lands. The words felt harsh and completely right. Lily's head snapped toward me. You are throwing me out in front of everyone, she asked. There was real shock in her tone, like she had not considered this outcome. You can't even give me a week to regroup. She looked at her parents for support, but they stayed still. Her dad blew out a slow breath. You told us you had a savings buffer, he reminded her. He did not raise his voice, which somehow felt worse. You told us you had backup plans if this went sideways. He shook his head. That was another fiction, wasn't it? Her mom stepped closer and touched her shoulder. You'll come home tonight, she said quietly. We'll figure out next steps from there, not here. Lily jerked away, but only for a moment. The fight was leaving her body even as her pride kept swinging. Mark looked at me, eyes bright and conflicted. Do you want me to help pack her things? He offered. The fact that he asked instead of assuming meant more than he knew. Yes, I answered, exhaling for what felt like the first time. I don't want to be alone in any room with her right now. We moved as a group down the hallway toward the living room. The couch bed, the blanket, her scattered clothes, all in plain sight. Here was the physical proof of how far she had dug in. She stared at the space with a tight, unreadable expression. Then she grabbed her duffel and started stuffing things fast. Mark opened the storage door and dragged out the suitcases. You really set up shop in here, he muttered under his breath. He shook out one of her jackets and folded it roughly. This doesn't look like emergency camping. He did not look at her as he packed. She threw items into the open case with jerky motions. Makeup, chargers, a pair of shoes, whatever her hands found first. At one point she grabbed my sweatshirt and hesitated. I took it gently from her grasp without a word. That tiny reclaiming felt like ripping off a bandage. I never meant to hurt you, she said suddenly. She was looking at me now, eyes rimmed red. I wanted to feel safe for once, and you looked like safety. Her mouth twisted. I just forgot you were a person, not a plan. That was probably the closest thing to an apology I was ever going to get. I'm not your safety net, I answered quietly. I felt tired all the way to my bones. And I won't be the villain because you overreached. I stepped back and leaned against the wall, creating distance. Go with your family and please leave my workplace out of your next story. She zipped the last suitcase with a harsh yank. Mark grabbed the handles and rolled them toward the door. Her parents moved behind them, a little slower, weighed down. Lily paused on the threshold and glanced back one final time. You'll miss me when you realize how cold the world is, she said. Maybe, I answered, because part of me already missed the simple version of her. Or maybe I'll finally sleep through the night. She flinched at that and stepped into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind them with a dull final sound. For the first time in months, my living room felt like mine. I wish the story ended there. Clean break, lesson learned, fade out. Life doesn't cut scenes that neatly, though. My phone buzzed an hour later with fresh notifications. Her last move landed exactly where I expected. She had posted a long, dramatic story online. Not the engagement fantasy this time, a different mask. Screenshots of partially cropped messages, blurred names, sad captions. Reminder that some men will use your loyalty as free labor, it read. Never build his empire while he calls you temporary. Comments piled up fast as I watched from a burner account. People called her brave, strong, a survivor of emotional manipulation. A few guessed who she meant, but most just projected their own stuff. It hurt anyway, seeing myself reduced to a vague villain. I saved every frame, though, just in case. The next morning, I walked into my manager's office on purpose. Heart pounding, palms damp, but my mind finally clear. I need to tell you something before rumors reach you, I started. I laid out a shorter version of the chaos, minus the personal details. Enough to mark the situation, not enough to create a scandal. He listened with his brow furrowed, hands folded on the desk. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled. Thanks for bringing this in instead of letting it blindside us, he said. If she contacts the company, send everything straight to HR, no commentary. He gave me a steady look, and stop letting your apartment turn into a case study. Walking out of that office, I felt lighter and exposed at the same time. Being proactive meant I lost some privacy but gained protection. That trade felt worth it with someone like her in the background. I had no idea if she would actually try to nuke my job. The risk felt smaller now that I had drawn the outline myself. A week later, the house funded and the keys landed in my hand. No surprise appearances, no last-minute stunts, just signatures and wires. I drove over alone and stood in the doorway of my own place. Walls bare, rooms echoing, future wide open and terrifying. I walked through each space, checking windows, checking locks, checking again. Even now, I double-check those locks more than makes sense. I jump a little when someone buzzes at the gate unexpectedly. My phone lighting with an unknown number still tightens my throat. She is blocked everywhere, but I half expect her to find a new path. People like her see boundaries as puzzles, not instructions. Looking back, I know I let it go way too far. Every small yes, every avoided fight, every we'll talk later. I taught her I was easier to manage than to respect. That is the part that stings when I write this. Not just what she did, but what I allowed because I wanted peace. If there is any upside, it is this. I learned that someone acting like a cute disaster can be very calculated. That money mixed with desperation can warp love into strategy. And that if you do not guard your life, someone else will budget it for you. Now when I close my door at night, it actually stays closed.